because it's statutory.
Okay, let's go ahead and do a call of order. We have forum? Okay. All right. Okay, city reports on Honolulu Fire Department.
Good evening. I'm Firefighter 1 Nick Hudson from the ʻAiea Fire Station, presenting this month's March 2025's incident report. The statistics provided below represent confirmed numbers of incidents in the NHB's geographical area for the previous month. For more details on the incidents and related mapping information, please visit the fire response map on our HFD website at fire.honolulu.gov under the News and Info tab. Should you have any questions, please email the HFD's Public Affairs and Media Liaison at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. Incident statistics for March 2025. For fires, we had 0 structure fires, 4 wildland brush fires, 5 nuisance fires, 0 cooking fires, and 10 activated alarms with no fire. For emergencies, we had 116 medicals, 0 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 12 motor vehicle crashes or collisions, 2 mountain rescues, 0 ocean rescues, and 3 hazardous material incidents. The safety tip and announcement for April 2025 concerns evacuation planning. Ensure you have an emergency preparedness plan in place for situations like environmental emergencies, fires, or natural disasters. Familiarize yourself with at least 2 escape routes from your home and plan an evacuation path if you must leave your neighborhood due to an emergency. For more information, visit fire.honolulu.gov. Tips: leave early to avoid getting trapped by fire, smoke, or traffic delays. Set up a predetermined meeting spot like a trusted neighbor or relative's home, a low-risk area, a shelter, or evacuation center, and bring your emergency supply kit with essential items for your family and pets. Is there any questions at this time?
All right, board members, any questions for Honolulu Fire Department? Jane?
There was a fire at the Lelepono condominium over a year ago. Do we know what caused that fire?
I don't believe that the source of that has been released to us at this time, but we can reach out to our Fire Prevention Bureau and see if they determine the cause.
Thank you.
Yep.
Board members, any other questions for Honolulu Fire Department? Okay, community members, any questions for Honolulu Fire Department? Okay, nothing heard. Thank you, sir, for your report. Okay. HPD.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please, sir,
Okay.
go ahead.
Good evening, ʻAiea Neighborhood Board, Lieutenant Iwasaki, District 3 Pro City Watch Commander. I'll start with the reported incidents for February 2025 compared to March 2025. Motor vehicle thefts, it was 8, it went up to 10. Burglaries was at 8, went up to 9. Thefts were 14, rose to 20. And car break-ins was 7, and it rose to 15. Also have the safety tip of the month is share the road responsibly. Be mindful that you share the road with other motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians. I also have the Pro City Shopping or Pearl Ridge Shopping Center statistics as requested from the last board meeting. So I'll read this out really quick. On March 8, 2025, 2 juvenile males approached by 4 juvenile males demanded for money. They responded they did not have any money. The suspects began to assault the victims and fled after taking one of their headsets. Police were called, and one of the 4 males were located, identified, and arrested for robbery in the 2nd degree. Through further investigation, the remaining 3 suspects were later identified, located, and arrested for assault 3rd and robbery in the 2nd degree. Another incident, March 19, 2025, 2 juvenile males were approached by numerous males dressed in black and wearing black face masks. One of the males dressed in black slapped one of the victims on his face and took his shoes. Another male dressed in black demanded for the other victim's shoes and attempted to take his backpack but failed. The suspects fled the area. Both victims were unable to identify any of the males and were unwilling to prosecute for that case, and no arrests were made in the case. However, in collaboration with Pearl Ridge Security, we did an operation. So there were extra officers that were assigned to Pearl Ridge on its own daily while the mall was open. And during this time, we did the officers approached a group of juveniles. I believe that, not positively, but I believe that they were the same juveniles that did this March 19th, 2025 robbery of the shoes. But they're all identified, and they're all trespassed from the mall for a period of 1 year. And one juvenile was arrested for injurious behavior for under under the report number. So yeah, we're still maintaining Pearl Ridge. We still do have operation going at Pearl Ridge, and like it says, we're in collaboration and partnership with Pearl Ridge Security. We're working hard to to put a stop to all these incidents that's occurring there. I wanted to add that there's a nightclub upstairs at the food court on the downtown side that's starting to cause problems for us at night, late at night. A lot of fights and affrays. So we're also staffing extra manpower to take care of that issue as well. Are there any questions?
Board members, any questions for HPD? Jane?
There was an armed robbery at the 7-Eleven very, very close to us here on ʻAiea Heights Drive. Have y'all caught the people that did that? The suspect?
You know, do you know when that occurred?
March 28th at 2:45 a.m.
March 28, 2:45.
Armed.
Yeah, you know what? I not making any excuses. I normally know all the robberies that occur in our district. At that time, I was on a trip visiting my son, so let me check on that, and I'll have to get back to you on that. Is there a email address, or if you can provide an email address where I can send the information once I check on it? I don't want to delay the neighborhood board and look it up right now, but I could give you an answer as soon as I get off the meeting.
Can
And
you, would you send it to Chair Wood, please?
okay, we'll do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Any, Lawrence?
I had a question. Does HPD use unmarked police cars?
Yes, we do. We have a crime reduction unit, and the crime reduction unit has unmarked vehicles in the undercover capacity.
Okay, the reason I was asking is I was on was it H1 coming down Red Hill, going past ʻAiea, and apparently an unmarked police car hit his lights that were on the interior. There's no light on the roof, and he was weaving through traffic going about 70, 80. I lost sight of him, but I didn't see him pull over anybody. I just was wondering if that was a police officer, or was that perhaps a citizen make believing he's a police officer. Was on April 2nd, roughly about 11:30 a.m. It was a white Camry, I believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of units. So our criminal investigation division, which is all the detectives at the main station, and every station has detectives as well. And the we also, in addition, have narcotics vice division. So everybody that has their own police vehicle, like like the Forerunners and stuff like that, you see the Camrys, the Explorers and stuff. We do have authorized dash lights that we can mount inside the vehicle. So when I was a detective in CID, and usually there's not exigency that we need to get somewhere really quick, but there were couple times where there was exigent circumstances, where we did from the main station all the way out to Kapolei, I did use my interior dash light with the the flashing light in the back. So if it had the flashing light in the back as well, I'm not sure if citizens they could buy it and install their own and be impersonating a police officer, which is against the law. But yeah, in exigent circumstances, they may have to utilize that. However, it's if somebody does have to use blue lights and sirens and weave through traffic, we highly recommend that they put their because everybody has the light on the top to mount that, and that's way safer for everybody to see. Like you probably look for, you hear a siren, you look for the light on the top, you only see the interior light, right? So yeah, and traffic division also has a Tahoe that has interior lights, but that one is marked, I believe, with the police symbol on the side.
Okay, so if somebody comes up quickly, they don't do traffic stops, then they're not trying to pull over someone on the freeway, they're just passing through.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we're not allowed to stop vehicles with that interior light, that dash, that little not dash, but it's a sun visor light. Yeah, and that's not authorized to pull people over with that.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, any other questions? Okay, I have a question for you, sir. So you mentioned that there's a nightclub in the downtown portion of Pearl Ridge that's causing problems. I know in the past we have generated a letter as a neighborhood board and submitted it to the police chief to authorize overtime for officers to support, these kind of establishments. Is there any reason why this establishment wouldn't be able to do that?
Yeah, this for special duty for the shopping center to hire special duty, that's not allowed because it's like a private property kind of shopping mall. So yeah,
So why do
there's
we,
rule-
hold on, sorry to interrupt you, sir. So
Mhm.
why do we do it for other night or nightclub establishments that are in the same vein?
Yeah, so for like a drinking establishment, they're not allowed to hire special duty. They have to hire their own private security. So there's special duty rules that everybody has to follow. So like you see special duty hired for like birthday parties or like those are for like city and county recreation centers, state recreation centers. But for like a shopping center, it's against special duty rules. I'm pretty sure for them to hire and especially for a liquor establishment and a club. Yeah. So
Okay.
what we yeah, so we staff extra officers to on the weekends, but it's not only on the weekends. They have bands playing on the weekdays as well, and there's fights on the weekdays as well. But we try to staff it appropriately so, because we also have the bar across the street at Westridge as well that has large fights at night as well. So yeah, this just but we did have a meeting with the Pearl Ridge Mall, that they do hire enough security guards to prevent these affrays and stuff like that, or enough security guards that they have enough to stop these big affrays.
Okay, because I mean, it just seems like it's something that's in the best interest of everybody, for the establishments, for the officers involved, for us as the community to have, off-duty officers being able to provide not necessarily security, but some kind of law enforcement or some kind of just presence at these locations to stop fighting and other, actions that are not desirable to occur.
Yes, so we would benefit from it. However, it's just against our policies for, like if you own like,
So it's a policy issue is what you're saying?
yeah, it is in policy for the special duty policy that
Okay.
people are not able to hire special duty for liquor establishments and private
So this is
shopping
not
malls.
this is not a law, but this is a policy.
It's not a law. It's not a law. HPD
Got it.
policy.
Okay, understand. Thank you, sir. All right, community members, any questions for HPD? Sir? Do you want to come up to the microphone, sir?
Hi, my name is Bernard Asato. I live in the Royal Summit area, and I believe there was a break-in at the Newtown Association Recreation Center in March. Was there any reported incident?
That too, I would have to look that up, Bernard. And I can email Chairman Woods with the results of that. Yeah. So the rec center got broken into?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay,
And
okay, yeah.
because of that incident, they changed the security and they're locking the doors.
Oh, I see, I see. I know that there is a residency challenge persons homeless camp back there too. So I'm not sure if that was involved in this burglary, but I will find out about that and I can get back to you on that. If you even want to email me, my email is giwasaki. So Glenn Iwasaki, so giwasaki at honolulu.gov. And I can communicate back with you on what happened with that burglary case.
Okay, thank you. With that, any other questions? Lost my online presence. Okay, thank you, sir, for your report. Much appreciated.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on. Board of Water Supply. Nope. Okay, moving on from Board of Water Supply, Mayor's Office. Okay, moving on. Ms. Cordero's office.
Good
Okay.
evening, Chair Wood, members of the board, and guests. I'm Robert Sato with Councilmember Cordero's office. I believe that you have the council member's written report in front of you. However, for those at home watching online, I'm putting in the chat a link to her report and also a couple other links for items that I'll be discussing in my verbal report. So just a quick highlight of her report. Just going to go over really quick and you can take a look as your time permits. On the first page, we have there was a couple of notices of violation that were given to property or home under construction at 99-1648 Honolulu Place. They were doing grading and construction without a permit, so they got NOVs for that. Some parked vehicles on Eva Street. HPD went out and checked, and they issued some citations for expired tags and towed a couple of vehicles for abandonment. So if you see anything, us or our services department, they check out abandoned vehicles and we can follow up. Since the mayor's office did not present a bunch of things that they probably would have covered in the report, also on the first page at the bottom, there's the 2025 Pearl Harbor Bike Path cleanup. It occurs every year. I think this one is related to Earth Day. Next 2 weekends from now, April 19th, 8 to 10:30 a.m. There's a bunch of sites. You can take a look to see if you want to come out and help clean up the bike. Contact Kyle.
Hey, sir.
Yes.
Can we, you're literally, your audio is like from yelling to whispering. And it's just coming, it's going back and forth. So would you please wrap it up quickly and then we can move on?
Okay. Let's see. Bill 24 PUCDP is going to be adopted. There's information on the report in there. There's a link that you can follow. That Bill 24 may be scheduled for the council meeting next week on the 16th. You can check H&L Doc for the agenda that comes out on Thursday. And there's a bunch of resos and bills that council member introduced and has passed. You can take a look at that. And okay, I'll wrap it up. If anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, but for everybody here in person, you're literally shouting and going to whispers like within 5 seconds of it, of back and forth.
My apologies.
It's not your fault. I don't think it's your fault. I think it's audio problems, but okay, board members, any questions for Cordero's office? All right. Oh, Mr. Higa?
I'm not sure if this question is appropriate for Councilmember Cordero. Is there any updates on the increase in sewer fees?
Okay, the bill that was introduced to do that has been sort of held by the council. The council is asking the administration to look at different ways to subsidize the construction that's needed to our sewer system without raising fees. So that's still there, but not in the form that was presented by the Department of Environmental Services at this point in time.
Okay, I got information somewhere that they're trying to cap it at 4%. Is that the intent now?
At this time, yes, for the next, at least for the next year.
So
Or
as
for
far as
the first year of the increase.
as far as voting on it or confirming that it is going to be 4%, is that going to happen this year?
I think the administration would like it to happen this year because they included the increases in the budget. So if the fee increases aren't approved by the council, then the whole budget has to be sort of altered. So it's still a work in progress. It needs to be approved before the city's annual budget is approved in June. So it'll be working its way along. I don't know, not sure what form.
Yeah, how can we ensure that they're going to cap it at 4% or it might jump up to 9% over 10 years?
Well, your input and the community's input into the process is integral. So if you track the bill, I'm sorry, I don't have the bill number in front of me right now, but please send in your testimony, send in your emails, and that way the council members will be aware.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, any other questions for Ms. Cordero's office? Okay, nothing heard. Community members, any questions? Okay, nothing heard. All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Who? Oh, did he? Okay. Okay, can we go back to the mayor's office then? Okay. So
Hello.
Haku?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I apologize. Haku Millis, Director for Department of Design and Construction. Good evening, Chair and board members and community. I apologize. I was having technical difficulties and I'm now on my phone. We'll give my very quick report here. Mayor Belangiardi's town hall meetings across Oahu has returned for a third year in a row. The Blaisdell Center Concert Hall reopens after back of house renovations. Department of Parks and Recreation began annual push to hire staff for the summer fun program, city summer fun program. City commemorates Hokulea's 50th anniversary at Kualoa Regional Park. Honolulu Charter Commission members are sworn in for decennial review of the city charter. Briefing on how residents can download the HNL Alert, the city's new alert system for natural disasters and emergency situations. All of that can be found on the April 2025 edition of Mayor's newsletter that I will type into the chat. It's honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. I did overhear a bit of the questions on the sewer fee to Councilmember Cordero's office and Robert. The proposed budget, as Robert stated, is to include the sewer fees for this upcoming fiscal year, which would be July 1st. I'm not sure if the fees go into effect immediately July 1st, but that is the current proposed budget. As Councilmember Cordero's office was talking about, you're opportunity to provide testimony is still open and available as they work through review of the proposed budget. I don't have any issues listed on my report, but happy to take any other questions that you may have. Thank you.
Board members, any questions for the mayor's office? Okay, community members, any questions for the mayor's office? Oh, Claire?
Last time you reported that the building on Honolulu Road, the sidewalk being closed, was closed for utilities. Can you tell me how long that sidewalk is going to be closed? Well, it's not totally closed now. It's got a pathway open, but it's still temporarily covered. Have you got any updates regarding the utility connections there? And is it just electricity or is it electricity and water?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. Unfortunately, that's a private development. And so it's not a project that lies with my department, with DDC. I don't know that they have provided a timeline to DPP. I can reach out to DPP and see if they can contact the contractor who's doing the work and see if they have a timeline for that.
Because it is a city sidewalk, right?
Correct. It's a city sidewalk, but when private developments need to tie in, they hire a private contractor. They get permits to be able to do the work in the city right of way. And it doesn't involve my department at all. It goes through design with a private consultant. They submit the plans to the Department of Planning and Permitting. It goes through a review and approval for the permits. Then they go out and get a contractor to go build it. And so I can reach out to DPP and see if they can do something to get information from the contractor regarding how long it's going to take.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, community members, any other questions? Okay, nothing heard. All right, thank you for your report.
Thank you. Sorry again.
No, no worries, you're good. All right, Councilmember Okimoto's office.
Aloha Chair Wood and members of the board. This is Pua from Councilmember Okimoto's office. I apologize, I'm having problems with my video tonight. For some odd reason, it's not working at the moment, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of updates. We're active, our office is, Councilmember Okimoto's office is actively working with the Department of Parks and Recreation to open up the parking lot at Newton Neighborhood Park on Sunday mornings for the dog training people. We still haven't gotten an update from DPR yet, but we're working with them. We're also actively working with the Department of Parks and Recreation regarding revamping the restrooms at Waimalu Park. We wanted to give a big mahalo to the ʻAiea Braves baseball team for their kukua in upkeeping the field and keeping it well maintained while they're using the field, while we're in the process of trying to revamp the bathrooms. I did put some important website and links in the chat. I know that our office manager, our awesome office manager, Jocelyn, dropped off our weekly newsletter or a monthly newsletter for April. It's just hot off the presses. We just got it printed this morning or this afternoon. I will be putting in the update I will be putting in the website in the chat when I receive that information for the monthly, for online users. The one thing that I wanted to follow up with you, Chair Wood, is the requested a response for the new, I'm sorry. I wanted to give you a response of the Neil S. Blaisdell Center name change due to possible sponsorship for Reso 20-50. When 25-50, sorry, was passed by full council on February 26, 2025 for the Department of Enterprise Services to pursue sponsorship of naming rights for the Neil S. Blaisdell Center. The RH Chapter 22 does not currently allow the sponsorship for naming rights, but Director Dita Hollyfield and her department are looking into different levels of sponsorship, and it will take every situation into careful consideration. So there's a various levels of sponsorship that can be taken, but DES is looking for opportunities for revenue generation and support for the Neil S. Blaisdell Center when there's upgrades for, major concerts and what have you. That's my report. If anybody has any questions, by all means, I'm happy to help.
Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Board members, any questions? Okay, nothing heard. Community members, any questions for, Claire, go ahead.
Hi, Councilmember Okimoto, thank you for the shout out to the ʻAiea Braves. They're part of the ʻAiea Pony Baseball League. But is there any way that we can get the opening of the Sklor School parking lot? Because right now for games and practices, they're parking on that small upper parking lot and on the shoulder lane that drives through, and it's really kind of dangerous for the kids on that on the road parking.
Yes, that's actually another thing that we're working with, situation that we're working with the Department of Parks and Recreation to see if that can actually be taken care of. We're working with also the Department of Facility Maintenance to see if we can reopen that parking lot area in order for there to be a safer parking situation. So we're in the process of having a riser or a request for informational service report with DPR and with DFM, so we can have that open as soon as possible.
Yeah, because the parking lot, the lower parking lot actually belongs to the school.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Okay.
for the request, and
All right,
I'll
thank
take
you.
that back and update you hopefully sooner than next month. Mahalo.
Okay. With that, thank you for your report. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to the list here. Okay, the community report, Stadium Authority.
Aloha, Chair Wood,
Chris.
and members of the board and members of the community. I'm Chris Kinimaka from DAGS, and basically happy to share that our Aloha Halava district partners are actively going through their due diligence now. You'll actually start to see some activity on site where they're doing testing and analysis so that they can finish or work towards their finishing of the stadium design and the district master plan. We're still on track to sign our agreement by this June and targeting still 2028 construction. But besides that, if I could share my screen, I'm going to go ahead. There we go. We are 2/3 way through the legislative session with the second decking of bills due this Thursday. So I just wanted to highlight 4 of the bills that we're tracking for NASED. The first is, of course, the state budget bill, which actually will hopefully increase the stadium development special fund ceiling so that the stadium authority can spend the money that's already in the special fund that's targeted for the stadium construction and for stadium infrastructure. We also have House Bill 1494, which the Senate replaced with language from Senate Bill 1589. If you recall, that was a bill that was going to take the money away from the stadium authority for the stadium and transfer the project over to the University of Hawaii. The bill now reads very similarly to an older version of Senate Bill 1589. So if you look at the information on the next bill, Senate Bill 1589 has 2 versions now, a Senate Draft 1 version and a House Draft 2 version. But overall, the main goal of that bill, or both bills, is to allow the stadium authority to actually receive private donations. So the big thing we're looking for is that vehicle that allows private donations to be directly given to the stadium authority, and those donations to be used for stadium construction and infrastructure specific to the stadium as well. Both bills also will allow for increasing their special development, their stadium development special fund, ceiling, again, so that they can expend those funds. And the final bill that we wanted to highlight tonight is House Bill 1007, which adds authorities to the Hawaii Community Development Authority. And that's important because they want to allow this development authority to help with infrastructure for transit-oriented development projects, and that includes our stadium authority. So this bill will allow them to issue revenue bonds and to assist with other infrastructure programs. And with that, I'll go ahead and tap Sam to give you highlights on what's going on at the stadium.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chris. Quick updates. As Chris mentioned, we are in full construction mode. So swap meet updates are our basic focus now. So we have 2 things. Number 1, we have been doing the Hawaii Food Bank donation drive. So thank you for everyone who has participated in that. We had an overwhelming response, so we are actually making that through the end of April with a donate $1. So if you shop at the swap meet between now and April 30th, when you hit the front area with the parking attendant, they will ask you nicely if you'd like to donate $1. And we appreciate that because everything does go to the Hawaii Food Bank. Other than that, if you drive past the stadium, you will see there is a ton of work going on right now in Upper Halawalat. So we have started actually in both lots, Upper Halawalat, Lower Halawalat. We anticipate the completion to be done in June, but we will see a lot of things kind of digging up, removing things. We are in the process of checking all of our retail units, all our lotteries. For the first round for all of our permanent vendors have been completed. So we're happy to share that all of the vendors who wanted a stall in the new location have been able to get that. So now we are moving on to a second round where if they want an additional stall from the first one they received, they can put that in that request. And then also for ones that kind of just want that 1 or 2 days. So that'll be happening over the next 2-3 months before we actually initially get ready to move. But that is about all that we have kind of going on. I can say on April 12th, we are actually doing a gun buyback as well with the Hawaii law enforcement. So that will be happening in the Lower Halawalat from 9 to, I believe, 3 p.m. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions for Stadium Authority? Lawrence.
You mentioned you're gonna try and get outside money to fund the stadium. What is the oversight for that? Is it money that has to be paid back in a loan? You're gonna be audited where the money is going? Because we're not talking couple 100,000, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars possibly flowing in. And I'm not sure if they're looking at it like a loan or if they're getting something out of it.
So that's a very good question. And actually, we're looking at several vehicles for funds to come in. That includes grant applications, whether they're federal grants or other types of infrastructure programs. Those would be outright funds given to the project or to the developer for implementation. The revenue bonds that I mentioned under the Hawaii Community Development Authority, that's more like bond funding that would have to be repaid by the developer with revenues that are generated by the projects. There are other community development fund programs also available through the county that would be similar to GEO bond funds, but will have to be paid back as well with future revenue that comes from the project. So there are different mechanisms. Even if we get private funding, for example, that private funding would go into the special development fund and then go to the developers. So you would have the state still watching and administering how the funds are utilized. These bills require income from private sector to be used specifically for stadium construction and stadium infrastructure. So you wouldn't see that going into, for example, the developers' vertical construction and their profits, yeah? So all of it is focused on supporting the stadium portion of the project for state assets and for the benefit of the community.
As far as how our economy is going now, everything's kind of going downhill and a lot of things are being paused. How long is the state gonna fund the project until they can get the monies from these loans or these grants locked in? Because is it gonna be a year from now, 2 years from now before they can get all the monies locked in?
Actually, the funds that were appropriated by the state, the $350 million, has already been blanket encumbered to this project. We have to execute a contract with the developer by 2026, June of 2026, and that would secure the funds until the contract work is completed. So the funds are secure for the $350 million. Really what's at stake is how much additional funding the developer can bring in or that the state can bring in through donations and grants to supplement the funding so that we get more of the features that we wanted in the stadium, to make it more world class.
So as far as the design portion, you're gonna have like several phases. So phase one is with the 350 mil. Phase two is gonna be with another 300 mil. So as far as paying these extra monies for design costs, that's all rolled into the 350 mil that's already allocated.
All the design costs at this point in time, yes, are rolled into the $350 million and any other equity that the developer would put out. I just want to caution you that the phases that you propose are still concepts. It's going to be up to Aloha Halava District partners, how they want to phase their project. What we anticipate is that the baseline project would be the base requirements for the stadium, with whatever they can get for $350 million. And the first increment of development to support and generate revenues for the partnership. But how they move forward with future phases is going to be up to Aloha Halava District partners. And that's why they're doing the due diligence right now, so that they can come up with their schedule and master plan for how they're going to be rolling forward.
Okay, yeah, I'm just concerned that a lot of our state projects, we always run over budget, like 20, 30, 40%. So
Yes.
yeah, that's just my
Yes.
concern that, we have a stadium we're trying to put up with 350 mil. At the end of the day, this project might be 900 mil total. And I'm not sure as far as where all that money is coming from, or if we're gonna try tap taxpayers to fund the rest. Thank you.
As it stands, our dictate is we get $350 million and that's it. And that's why we're looking at other funding alternatives. Even things like, the community development funds and other tax increment financing would come from future future taxes, for example, for that district, that for the city and county that they don't collect now. Whatever additional, for example, real property tax they gain would go back into paying back whatever funds were, whatever funds were forwarded for the project. And so it's not additional funds coming out of taxpayers, it's using funding that does not exist at this point. A little hard to explain, but that's really talking about using future taxes that would not ever happen if we don't do this development.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Community members, Danny? Oh, okay. All right, community members, Claire.
Hi.
You're on the Stadium Authority Board.
I know, that's why don't say that too loudly. Chris, is there a correction there? You said the funds have to be encumbered in June of 2026, but isn't it 2025?
So yes, what happened is that they are blanket encumbered. The original deadline for encumbrance under contract was June of 2025. We do have an extension to June 2026. However, that does not change our target deadline. We have to stay on schedule, and so we're still looking at June 2025.
So Larry, for some I guess some more additional information. In June of 2025 is targeted the date where the Aloha Development Partners are going to hopefully finalize a contract with the state and say whether they're going to do this or not. And then it's their point at that point, they take charge of the design, the demolition, the design, the plan, and the maintenance of the Aloha Stadium and that district that goes around it. Okay, so it's not additional funding that they're trying to search for is to go to the development of the stadium and anything else that might, like if we become like an infrastructure kind of thing, if we become like a terminal for low-income housing or those kinds of things, but that funding all goes to the development partners. It's not the state that's going to develop it at that point. Okay, it's the Aloha Development Partnership, which consists, I think they came once before, Sanford Carr, Crawford, not Crawford, but the guy
HOK.
yeah, there are 5 partners or 4 or 5 partners that they put together a hui, or like I call it a hui, but they are responsible for developing the stadium and whatever goes around the district.
So once we come
knew I
to
should have
June 2025, and if they agree, they're gonna put up a stadium for 350 million. It's just a matter of, might be a vanilla stadium.
It might be a shell. No.
No. They have to
the
meet
whole
the
idea-
basic
Sorry,
technical
Chris, I said that.
requirements.
The whole idea is when they've looked at other stadiums on the mainland, like in San Diego, they've already, the plan, and it will be their design, whatever they design, but they're trying to design it so that, like it will sustain if later on they have to put on a roof. You know what I mean? They're not gonna, but it's gonna be, if they don't get more money than the 350 from their various partners that they're seeking out, venture capitalists or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna get maybe a bare bones $350 million stadium. Okay, but it's a 30,000 capacity is what they're targeting. They're not targeting a 50,000 capacity stadium. The trend across the United States is for these smaller stadiums. But it all rests on, whether Aloha Development Partners can do the entire concept. If that doesn't work, they might have to just only do contract for just the stadium itself.
Okay, so as far as once they agree in June, say they agree in June 2025, as far as the state's financial obligations for the stadium, it's all done. It's all on the shoulders of the developer.
Well, I wouldn't ever say it's all on them because, if they talk about raising general funds, they're going to have to, or loans, taking out loans against them.
So I can help you out.
They're
there,
not going to
Claire,
issue a tax. Yeah, right. I
Right.
mean, the concern is they're not going to say, okay, we need more money. And so to do the stadium, we're going to tax everybody like the sewer fees. We're not going to raise taxes to pay for the stadium. Right, Chris?
I will caution that the state and other resources, our stakeholders, are continuing to look for alternatives for funding.
Okay.
I can't promise. I can only say that we are not going back to the legislature and outright asking for appropriations. So at this point in time, what the developer is doing is coming up with their baseline design for the $350 million. They do have to meet our minimum technical requirements. But in the phasing, when I mentioned it's their phasing, they're the ones who are going to determine, for example, how to design the stadium so that we can actually increase capacity and add more amenities, add future features. So they make sure, for example, they have enough infrastructure for whatever expansion and additional amenities that can come later. Because even if they finish the stadium with the 350, it doesn't stop them from continuing development to increase and enhance the stadium and the district around it with any future funding that can come in. But we are partnering with other stakeholders, and the state is supporting them in their efforts to identify additional funding. We are not at this time, though, asking for a straight up appropriation.
I think what's hard, Larry, is we have to remember we look at this current stadium now and we say, what was wrong with it? There are a lot of things wrong with it. Actually, it doesn't look like that now. But it was dangerous. It was closed down for safety reasons. So that's why they made that component of developing a new stadium also to include maintenance. Every year, the stadium would have to go back to the legislature and ask for maintenance money. And it was subject to whether they got it or not. And then it was like, put a Band-Aid here, tend to the most egregious things that needed to be fixed. So this way, the whole idea of the development of the district is to help maintain the stadium, okay? And make a profit somewhere. Somebody's going to make a profit.
I agree with you 100%. Just look at the convention center, the state capitol, and
Right.
other state projects that for some reason they cannot maintain.
Yeah, so we don't want to get into that.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, lively discussion there. Okay, all right. We're still targeting a fall of 2028, correct, for that football season?
That's what we're pushing for.
Okay, thank you. All right. I know, right? Just need open field, right? Some grid lines on it. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for both of that. Also, just want to reiterate the gun buyback for April 12th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., correct? Okay, got a thumbs up there. Okay. All right, great. All right, thank you. Thank you both for your report. Much appreciated. We're going to move on. OCCC.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, Chair Wood, members
Good evening.
of the board. Members of the community, I am Bettina Maynard from ʻAiea, here on behalf of the OCCC team. Assisting with our presentation is Chris Gadosh from our firm, who will update us shortly on the bill as they relate to our project and its mission. He is also in charge of technology, and by now you should see our presentation.
Before you begin, I just want everyone to know this is Tommy Johnson, the Director of DCR. I'm here.
Great, thank you. If I had known you were there, Director, I would have introduced you. I apologize.
No worries. Proceed.
All right, Chris Gadosh, how are we doing? All right, while he's working on that, let me jump in. We might have to do this without visuals. Our newsletter number 58 is out. There we go. Not quite what I'm talking about. There we go. It's going through final approvals and will be mailed out a little later this week. Highlights are update on the dedication of the new housing unit at HCCC. There's an update on the ACA conference, including some more details on the workshop that our Hawaii team put on. There is Director Johnson opinion piece from the Honolulu Star Bulletin on why a new jail is long overdue. And then lastly, a reminder what the difference is between a jail and a prison are. And Chris Gadosh will give us a quick update on how the bills relating to our projects are doing in the legislature. Chris?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we'd first like to highlight just all the bills this session. These are the ones that no action has been taken. These were the ones we were tracking this session. On the positive side of all this, there seems to be more interest and push this year for judiciary and correctional reform, which is pretty positive. So these bills are stalled now, but doesn't mean we won't see them again in the future. However, the bills that we're still watching over, House Bill 1002, this bill extends the term of the oversight coordinator for the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. This bill is moving forward. It was returned to the Senate. House Bill 127, this refers to bail to be set at an amount that the defendant can afford. This will go back into discussion as there was a disagreement with the Senate amendments. House Bill 677, this is in regards to assist inmates in obtaining civil identification cards, birth certificates, social security cards, and other relevant identification for successful reentry. The Senate Bill 224, this has received disagreement and with the House amendments, so this was up for further discussion. House Bill 433, this connects offenders with community-based services. This was disagreed with some Senate amendments, so this is going on for further discussion. House Bill 1322, this restricts the use of solitary confinement in state-operated and state-contracted correctional facilities. Senate Bill 104 is still moving forward. They were given 48-hour notice. House Bill 132, this is regarding expungement of arrest records concerning or promoting detrimental to drugs in the third degree. This was transmitted to the governor. House Concurrent Resolution 23 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 26. These call to include a circuit and district court facilities and the establish a release procedure under which detainees and inmates upon release are transported to a site other than a residential community or public space. This has been adopted and moved from the Senate to the House. HCR 63 and SCR 21. This is to make available to correctional faculty, staff, clinical counseling services that are separate and distinct from existing mental health resources available to the inmates. So this is moving forward as well. HCR 153. This will reduce the number of inmates incarcerated in private out-of-state correctional facilities. This is moving forward. HCR 154, this will audit the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, as well as the Department of Accounting and General Services regarding the planning, design, financing, construction, and maintenance of the new jail facility. This report was adopted and referred to the Finance Committee. And SCR 20, this will reevaluate policies regarding in-person contact and visitation. And this is moving forward and moved from the Senate to the House. Bettina, back to you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Really quick, we have a project website, and our team continues to update, well, the site, but particularly the frequently asked questions. And they reflect on what's happening on the project and some of the questions that we encounter along the way. That site is intended to be a resource. We encourage you to take advantage of it. And as always, we welcome any comments or feedback that you might have. Last slide, Chris. The reminder of the project timeline, the major milestones are shown here. Nothing has changed. The slightly dotted red rectangle is where we currently are. And last slide is a QR code for the new site that I mentioned. Feel free to scan it and check out the site. Or if you want to go a bit more old-fashioned, the web address is nuoahujail.hawaii.gov. That's it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Board members, any questions for OCCC? Lawrence.
There is an article, Civil Beat, February 24th, 2025. They say half of Hawaii inmates leave prison without IDs. They need to start over. As far as the procedures and protocols, if you guys are doing this now with a new facility, you guys are going to be doing the same thing. Was there anything done after this article came out that you're trying to provide released prisoners with IDs so they can start over and maybe they can cash a check if they start working?
This is Director Johnson. The article is mistaken. They took information from the Oversight Commission reports, which said that over 10,000 inmates were released and only 300 plus or so received ID cards. What they did not say was that the vast majority of those people were released as from OCCC, and there were multiple counts where the people had come into the system in that particular year 2 or 3 times. Every inmate at the Halawa Correctional Facility is offered an ID card because that's what we have, the ID card machine. We're purchasing additional machines that will be able to talk to the city and county machines. They're not there yet because the city and county just went into contract with their vendor, so we need to purchase the same type of machines. So we concentrate first on the prison population and then on the jail population. The ID card process takes 2 to 3 months. Unfortunately, most of the people in the jail population are only with us between 7 and 15 to 30 days at the most. So if they don't have an ID card, there's little we can do to assist them with an ID card. But those that are with us for longer, when we purchase the ID card machines and the kiosk machines, we'll be able to assist them. I've addressed that with, or trying to address that with Christian Johnson, who is the Oversight Commission coordinator, because that information in the report is misleading. It doesn't provide enough detail for people to understand all the different categories of inmates. And not all the 10,000 inmates that were released in a particular period needed ID cards because they would have had them already, or they would have for such a short period of time that we cannot help them with ID cards because of their jail population. I hope that provides context to you.
Yes, it would be good if you could have Civil Beats update their article, because in here it also says that it's been 7 years after the state legislature passed a law requiring that it to do so. The number of people leaving prisons with documents they need to function in society has barely budged. So nothing, basically they're saying nothing happened for the past several years, even though the legislature passed a law. So
The
if you could,
legislature, I, I don't mean to interrupt, but I apologize, but the legislature passed a law, but what the article doesn't say is that the vast majority of the people incarcerated do not require the ID cards because they have ID cards as part of their personal property. So the story is misleading. I did mention that to Kevin Dayton, who wrote the story in the Civil Beat on several occasions, and I mentioned that to Christian Johnson, the oversight coordinator, because he got that information from the oversight coordinator's report. So we're trying to work with both entities so they provide accurate information and not misleading information. Because as it stands now, it would appear that the Department of Public Safety only attempted to assist 1.4% of the 10,000 people released. What it doesn't say is that the vast majority of the releases are double counted because they were in multiple times, and that the vast majority of them did not require ID cards. Those that require ID cards is only those that are in prison and not those that are in short-term incarceration for 7 to 15 or 30 days in jail.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Russell?
Yeah, can I get clarification again, once again, Director, on the, can you hear me? Director, can I get clarification on the difference between prison and jail? If I understood correctly, the last meeting you had indicated individuals who are charged pending trial are put in jail, the jail instead of the prison. Is that right? And is
that is correct. So,
is there a difference in the type of charge? For example, murder one.
okay, so those that are in jail are there in pretrial status or sentenced petty misdemeanors for 30 days, or those who are sentenced misdemeanors for 1 year or less. Once they're convicted of a felony, they're transferred to a prison where they're there for either.
Hold on, Director. What about those who has pending trial that have been in jail for more than 1 year?
Those that are pending trial, they've been in jail for 1 year.
For example, if you're being held or you're being charged for murder,
right,
any kind of assault, are they being housed only in the jail, or are they being placed in the prison?
they're being housed in the jail because they are pre-sentence detainees and not sentenced felons yet. The only time we would move someone who's a pre-sentence detainee to a prison is if we had credible information that their life was in danger and we couldn't protect them in the jail. We would move them to a prison setting and put them in segregation.
But I understand, but if the charge is murder, something as serious as murder or some kind of bodily injury to the public, and they're being housed in a jail, and your plans, and you're trying to, I think, describe what's happening in Halava. There's a jail, right, that is being built, and that some of them may be released out into the public. If I understood correctly, or I may misunderstand.
Yeah, I think you're misunderstanding. So let me make it clear. Halava is a prison. We're trying to build a new OCCC jail near the Halava prison, but the jail functions will not change from the functions of OCCC.
And that location is the animal quarantine station, if I could believe, right? That's where you're planning the
No, it's near the animal quarantine on the other side of the highway, but we would need to demolish the kennels at portion of the kennels, a couple hundred kennels, in order to bring the heavy equipment in to build the new OCCC.
Okay, and in the jail, the substitute for OCCC, there'll be individuals charged potentially pending trial for murder or rape or whatever, physical bodily injury.
That is correct.
They'll be there, and that part of your project also involves what again about releasing those individuals into the community? I recall.
So the Jail Act is two different things. It acts as pretrial for pretrial felons, sentence petty misdemeanors for 30 days, sentence misdemeanors for up to a year, and work furlough for those who are in prison who are re-socializing back through the community through the work furlough centers. What we agreed to do in one of the bills before the legislature is that we would not release people from the jail. We would take them to the nearest bus depot to release them in the community. But I have to stress that the vast majority, 98% of the people that are
Where
released
again?
to a program actually are picked up by the program or their family members upon release.
Take them into a resting home in the community. Did I hear correctly?
A what?
I think what he said was they would basically provide a bus service or some kind of transport service to like a bus transfer station area.
Correct, for those that did not have transportation. But again, the vast majority of the people being released, about 98%, have transportation, and all the folks being transferred to a program are picked up by the program at the facility and transported to the program.
I thought I heard you say something about a house in the community. No?
We have work furlough programs in the community. We have being sober homes in the community we contract with, but none of those are anywhere near the current Halava facility or where the new OCCC facility will be.
Okay, but that would not be individuals, even, pending trial, again, pending trial, but charged for very serious crimes like murder, bodily injury, any kind of assault, kind of things. That does not happen, right? Correct?
No, they would be in
Pending
the most
trial,
secure.
pending trial, not yet convicted, but yet are being charged and facing trial for murder or any kind of serious bodily injury.
They would be held in the jail as a detainee, as
Not
any other
really.
detainee across the country would be held.
Okay, they'll be retained in the jail.
Yes.
Okay, with that, let's move on. Community members, any questions? The board doesn't have any? Nope. Community members? Nope. Okay. All right. Thank you for your reports, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's move on. Okay, so Pearl Ridge Shopping Center. Let's get to you.
Chair Woods, members of the board, members of the community. My name is David Schnelli. I'm the general manager at Pearl Ridge Center. Happy to announce that we turned over keys yesterday to Planet Fitness, to them and their general contractor. So they would now start construction on the Planet Fitness gym. I've been waiting a year to announce that. Good news. The Easter Bunny is now at Pearl Ridge Center for photos with our children in the community. Easter Bunny will be there in the Vaimakai Center Court until April 19th. A Detect a Leak event. This is a joint effort between the Board of Water Supply and Hardware Hawaii, and they will be at the center Sunday, April 13th from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. at our Mauka Center Court, and we'll be teaching our community about leak detection and repair tips. The ʻAiea, Our Savior, Waihiwa Trinity, and Maui Emmanuel Middle School bands will all perform at Pearl Ridge Center on April 25th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. in our Mauka Center Court. Blood Bank of Hawaii Blood Drive held on Friday, April 11th and May 9th from noon to 6 p.m. And that's at our Mauka parking lot in front of our food court. The Royal Hawaiian Band is making a return on Sunday, April 27th from 1 to 1:45 at our Marcus Center Court. And finally, many of you know that May is Mental Health Month. The State of Hawaii Child and Adolescent Mental Health Division will be at Pearl Ridge with several participating organizations with an event on Friday, May 30th at the Marca Center Court. Finally, I'll just say many of the other details you can find at pearlridgeonline.com.
Okay, board members, any questions for Pearl Ridge? Jane?
There are 3 very, very bright lights that go up on Friday and Saturday night. I don't know who they belong to, but they do seem to coincide with Valor, that bar's
Yes.
events. And they are so bright. They're not hooded. The light comes out into my condo.
Okay.
And I'm a block away. Is there something that can be done about that? They're not hooded. The light is directed where I live instead of onto the ground.
Jane, would it be asking too much if you could snap a picture? Okay, and email that to me so I can see it.
Bet.
But of course, the lighting we've increased for security reasons, especially at the end of the event. But we certainly want to have a look and see if we can make something happen there.
Is that email address on here?
No, but I'll sneak over and I'll give you a card.
Okay, any other questions? Community members, any questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Navy. Morning. Good evening.
Good afternoon.
It's morning somewhere. It's morning somewhere.
Apologize. You have the emailed report, so I'll just hit a couple of highlights. I did bring copies of the Mo'olelo. It's over on the table over there. Hopefully they haven't blown off already. We also are doing those monthly ship tours. No pressure, but Pearl City Neighborhood Board did go do a ship tour last Saturday. We were happy to host y'all. We do have one this Saturday. I would need to know by tomorrow at noon, but we will have other tours available at least a couple of months. We're happy to host y'all. The next community white boat is going to be April 22nd. It had been scheduled the 18th. Now it's the 22nd. We're going to be talking about stewardship, including some of the work we're doing with Auntie Kehau at the fish pond. It's really exciting work, and I know the volunteers love going there. Lolima Navy, that's the effort we have to document volunteer activities throughout the year. We're at about 120, about halfway to the goal of documenting the overall goal of 250 for the year. And I know the ʻAiea Neighborhood Board Library, or the ʻAiea Library event, got a lot of our Navy volunteers, so they really appreciated being part of that. And then we had some folks be part of the Onizuko Day of Exploration, some engineers. I think Joanna might highlight that too, but that's exactly the type of partnerships and collaboration we like. It's a great opportunity to work together. So that's all I have. I'll turn it over to Joanna for updates on Red Hill.
Good evening, Chair, community members, and board members. Joanna Delphin for Navy Closure Task Force Red Hill. We recently started degassing tank 4 up at the facility on Friday. Updates for air quality monitoring is available hourly on the mobile app and daily on the website. Since the last board meeting, we launched Red Hill Highlights, which is a weekly newsletter, if you will, kind of providing updates on current operations and future engagements for Navy Closure Task Force. And I brought some copies as well. They're available in the front. You can also find that on the mobile app and on the website. A few events that we have coming up, specifically tomorrow. Navy Closure Task Force will be attending the Fuel Tank Advisory Committee meeting in the afternoon. Our next webinar that is focused on the reactivation of the Navy ʻAiea Halava shaft is scheduled for the end of the month. I don't have a date on that yet, but once that information is provided, we'll go ahead and we'll share that with the group via the website, the app, and the Red Hill Highlights. Our next open house is scheduled for May. I don't have a date for that either, but do save some time on your calendar in that month. Our last open house was on March 21st at the Kehi Lagoon. I know that there were some board members who attended, so thank you for that. Received a lot of good community feedback. And then, as Lydia mentioned, we did have some of our engineers and scientists participate in the Onizuka Day, Day of Exploration, the STEM event at the West Oahu, University of Hawaii West Oahu campus. That's all I have. Pending any questions?
Lawrence?
As far as reactivating that ʻAiea Halava shaft, I know according to what I read, a plan was submitted to the State Department of Health. What is the status of reactivating that shaft?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So yes, we did submit a plan to Hawaii Department of Health, and they responded with some requirements that need to be met before we do start the shaft reactivation. There is a pilot study that is ongoing that actually started today. It's scheduled to run for another month. The Navy Closure Task Force has to demonstrate that the operations are in working condition and that we're effectively able to meet the requirements for the Department of Health before we're able to restart the shaft.
Is Board of Water Supply in the loop for everything that's going on?
I do know that our subject matter experts do keep in communication with them with regard to how much information is shared regarding reactivation of the shaft. I can't speak to that, but that's a great question to ask at the webinar at the end of the month.
Okay, so as far as that 1 month time frame, if it clears that 1 month, any kind of time frame when the shaft is gonna be approved for use?
So the approval of that would depend on the outcome of the actual study. There is no intention to restart or reconnect the shaft to the drinking water system unless we meet all of DOH's requirements and get their approval. So until we get that approval, we won't be able to provide a timeline, but we are trying to aim for sometime this summer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Danny?
Is there anywhere where we can view sort of the Department of Health comments with regard to different measures that you folks are needing to meet in order to get that shaft back online?
So I'll have to double check. I'm not sure if the letter, DOH's requirements are online. I assume they'll be on their website, but I can get back to you.
And then how many miles or how many gallons per day are you folks anticipating when you reactivate?
To pump it back into the system. So I'll have to get that number for you as well. However, the output of the Navy ʻAiea Halava shaft into the drinking water distribution system will be significantly less than the Waiava shaft or the Red Hill shaft, but I can get you the number.
And then, sorry, last question. In terms of the reactivation, I think the timeline is entirely dependent on the ability to meet the DOH requirements. Do you have any details in terms of the pilot study and what it might be including? Like, is that available to the public?
I can get that for you. Yeah, I'll have to check to make sure that it is online. Again, I haven't seen the study, the requirements of the study itself, but I can get that information.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Jane?
This is joint-based public relations, not serious like Red Hill, but is there an Easter brunch on either base on Hickam or Pearl Harbor that will be open to retirees or veterans?
I will check on that and I'll email.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions, board members? I have.
Sorry, I had one more thing to add, but you can go ahead and with your question, I can add it at the end.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so right now there is a draft environmental assessment notice of availability for the Red Hill water treatment facility. It's included, the information is included in the Red Hill highlights. So, community members are encouraged to submit their comments and questions regarding the water treatment facility through the NEPA process. You can submit them online or mail it in via snail mail. The comment period ends on April 20th.
Okay. The question I had was that I appreciate the reports and everything that have been going on over this for the last few years, but is there going to be a point where community members are going to be given like an opportunity to where we can see the work that you guys have been doing on this particular project?
So are you talking about the decommissioning
Mhm.
and the closure?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's a little ways out. I don't have an answer for you right now, but it's definitely something that I can bring back to leadership, and we can get you a response.
I appreciate that because I know that it's probably been 4 or 5 years now that I think the community members have been invited to take a look at that facility. And based on everything that's happened since 2020, it would be nice to be able to, like I said, it's about show me, right? Show me what you've been doing rather than telling me what you've been doing. And you've been telling us what you've been doing. So, and I appreciate that. And I'm not discounting that. And just that it's, you get a lot more buy-in when you show somebody something, right? So.
Of
That's
course.
exciting.
And we always encourage the community to come out to the open houses and talk with our subject matter.
Yeah, that's a little
experts.
different though than actually visiting the facility itself.
No, understood.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Community members, any questions for Navy, Red Hill? Okay. Thank you. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to ACA. Claire?
Like to first of all thank everyone for a successful March 28th book sale for the Friends of the ʻAiea Library. And I'd like to extend a thank you to Lydia and the Navy group because they really were, I mean, let me tell you, those Navy guys young guys carried, and women, I should say women, carried those boxes a lot better than we carried them. And the setup and the breakdown went much faster. And we really appreciate their efforts. And they seem to have fun doing it too. They had a good time. I want to say that our community meeting again is on April 21st at 7 o'clock in the same room. It's a go-to hybrid meeting, so you can be in person or you can come online. I wanted to thank and extend a thank you to Councilmember Cordero, who is here, for her work on the bill regarding the PUC, the Primary Urban Core bill, and her language that she put forth reflecting the community's input. And I'm going to pass this out to Kehao to explain that more. The big thing I want to let people know is the housing, housing is going to open, they're targeting opening up in August. I had mistakenly, the applications were open the last time, but then they shut it down. Applications for the site is going to open up on April 15th. And it's going to open from the 15th to the 30th. Okay. So the process is going to be, you're going to file an application. On May 9th, they're going to have a lottery to see, just by blind poll, hopefully, blind pool, to pick the number of residents that will be in the site, in the area, in that building. And then after that point, they will then evaluate everyone's application based on the lottery as far as their financial qualifications for the affordable housing. Okay. So, but you must apply between April 15th and April 30th to even qualify for the lottery. Okay. So please help us get that word out to seniors, even people you think might not, they might be living with their children and they're looking to get some peace and quiet. No. So let people know and help us spread the word. We fought hard to get that building there for our community. It's not necessarily only open to our community. It's open island-wide, nationwide, whatever. Okay. But, help us get the word out. April 15th to April 19th. It's an online application. You put it in and then you then qualify for the lottery. Okay. Let's see. Hey, how you wanna? Can I let Kehao come up and talk about the resolutions that I guess amended Councilmember Cordero's. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Aloha pumehana kako. Aloha. It's been many years since I was here and many new faces. And maybe for you, I'm a new face too. I'm Kehalani Lam, the president of Ali'i Pauahi Hawaiian Civic Club. also a board member of ACA and a lineal descendant of the first stewards of ʻAiea from the time of the Mahele. I want to say aloha and mahalo to all of you. I'm so proud to be a member of ʻAiea. We fought so hard in 2002 to build this space. How many were here then? How many were here then? You see, we have to know these things because it's an important part of our history. This was the mill, and I have a picture, and Kelly has it over there I was going to show you, in 1997 of a letter that we wrote to the editor to ask for this space to become a community-driven space. They were going to shut down our library and send us to Pro City. But we have this today to be here because the community galvanized together. And we're still doing that today in the form of Bill 24, Public Urban Center Plan Revision. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but I know that many testimonies poured into the council from this community. In fact, we had more testimonies from the very beginning than any community in the district. That primary area goes from Pahala to Honouliuli, I think, or Pro City, sorry, Pahala to Pro City. That huge, and ʻAiea had the most to say. And that's because we care and love this community, all of us. And all the work that we do, Aliʻi and ACA does, we do only because the community had the vision and asked us to help. So the fish pond with Lydia and the Navy and Kelly and Kaolino over here and ACA and all of you who have been there to help to restore local iʻapaeao should be proud. Very proud. For 10 years, we have been doing that now. And in the next 2 years, the Navy is going to restore the silt, remove the silt, restore the pond wall, plant native wetlands, and ʻAiea will be able to speak like other communities about the ancient sacred spaces. In this case, the Queen of Oahu 500 years ago. That's because of this community and the people who stood up and asked. And we say, we don't just ask, we stand here and we work. So Bill 24, in the original proposal, which was introduced to us at Moanalua High School, I think last year, many, many months ago, raised a lot of concerns for community members who were there because it did not take into account this space the way that the community envisioned it. And in our testimony, and what I passed out are some of the testimonies that were presented at the most recent council meeting. We went to, I think, three meetings and presented testimony. And we started out by saying we do not support this bill and why we didn't support it. But thanks in large part to Councilmember Radiant Cordero, mahalo nui. Mahalo nui for listening to us and working with us. And Councilmember Okimoto, who in this last meeting also did too. So you can read through and you'll see some of the comments that our community had to say. There were 4 or 5 amendments that ACA in particular were concerned about. And they primarily had to do with recognizing that the plan the new plan incorporates an old plan that didn't address this area at all. And so there was a conflict in really what was asked for by the community, and that was fixed. It referred to the ʻAiea Livable Cities Plan, and in fact, it should have been the ʻAiea Town Center Plan. So that has been corrected. A language relating to the former swap meet site at the Cam swap meet site was corrected to show that. Language relating to what can be developed in this area, because the community envisioned this entire space holistically. People came together for months and months and years to testify and say what they wanted to see. And it took us 27 years. My daughter was a baby when we were standing out here saying, don't tear down the mill for a Kmart. And she's 27 today, getting her master's next week in landscape architecture and urban planning. And she learned that here in this community. So mahalo nui for what you have done for all of us. The 2 amendments that are really, Claire wanted me to point out that needed correction was that the figure map that they used to identify the areas of construction did not note the right place type of use. And so that has been corrected. Over here, it would have been like mixed use and could be tall buildings up to 8 stories. Could have been tall buildings from here all the way down to past the post office, up to 8 stories. And we said, no, that's too much. That's too much. So mahalo nui for correcting that. Also, the amendment to add a new paragraph to reflect the community's desire to restore and preserve Native Hawaiian cultural and historic resources, that aligns us with another measure that the council passed previously. It was left out, and so now it's in there. Amendment to the growth scenario for ʻAiea Town, that has to do with the renaming. And others are going to speak to you about the restoration and preservation of Native Hawaiian cultural and historic resources, primarily to allow to prioritize investment in biocultural restoration. So I won't go into detail, but I just want to say that this comes from the young people. They asked us, will you go forward and do this for us? And I feel like the mill site was ʻAiea's big cause in the 1990s. Yeah, Claire? It was when we resurrected the ACA, was to be able to save this space so we could have kupuna living over there and children over here and community space over there. And we have it. We have it. And we did that. Today's generation needs a space of their own too. And they've asked us for that, and that is this biocultural space. So I'm really here to ask all of you for your support for them, our future, and the future of ʻAiea. Mahalo nui.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for ACA? Sure, Claire, but can we talk after this?
I want to highlight something on also Councilmember Cordero's newsletter. The thing about the new guidelines for the flood restrictions, that is going to be a really big thing for insurance companies. You know what's happening all across the nation regarding the shoreline and the insurance that they're having to pay. And so there are big insurance companies that are pulling out or rewriting the guidelines for how much they're going to insure and asking homeowners to get flood insurance. And if you're in a flood designated area, you'll be hard pressed to get insurance. So I currently do have a question to EAH regarding whether they're going to have the people over there required to have renters insurance, and would they be able to get it? They seem to think that it won't affect them, but I think we need to pay attention to how development gets done along our shoreline because of these new regulations. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions from the community for ACA? Board members? Okay, thank you guys for that. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to community concerns from residents. Does any residents have any community concerns they would like to bring up? Okay, I got 2 over there. Ma'am, one standing up to the microphone, please.
Aloha, mai kako. My name is Kelly Herther. I'm a resident of ʻAiea, member of ʻAiea Community Association, and also a longtime volunteer at Loko ʻia Pa'aiao, and also a volunteer at ʻAiea High School in the Olelo Hawaii and hula classes. I would like to address the adopting of the city's revised primary urban center development plan, which is Bill 24 that Auntie Kehau just mentioned, and really like to just echo most of what Auntie Kehau said. I offered you a copy of testimony that is similar to what I gave to the Committee on Planning, Infrastructure, and Transportation. They passed the amendments. So I really am just here to urge you to support those efforts in the amendments that we asked them to make. And I did want to make sure to prioritize the restoration and preservation of Native Hawaiian cultural and historic resources. And I just wanted to offer you what we offered them so you can hear it. It's to prioritize investment in biocultural restoration, Native Hawaiian lo'i kalo, loko ia, Mala, etc. in Lower ʻAiea as an adaptive strategy to address stormwater management and mitigate fire risk, flooding, urban heat island, and groundwater recharge, while also supporting urban greening, cultural restoration, food security, and community stewardship. And as Auntie Cahill said, this is driven by our young people. I'm a mother of 3 children who are in their 20s, close to her daughter's age. And this is to be a biocultural space for them and a new gathering area in ʻAiea. So again, I just really ask for your support for this amended primary urban center development plan. Mahalo.
Thank you. Okay, you, ma'am, you had one? Thank you. Please come up.
Aloha. My name is Allison Ka'olino Kaimana Yasuoka. I reside in Waimalu, ʻAiea, in a multi-generational home. First, I would like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to express my continued support for the amendments that recently passed through the Planning, Infrastructure, and Transportation Committee chaired by Radiant Cordero. Great appreciation for her work and her committee's work on amending Bill 24. I strongly support the amendments proposed by Chair Cordero in Council Communication 84 because they strengthen the primary urban center development plan and honor and reflect more than 25 years of envisioning and effort by the ʻAiea community and its association, respecting and honoring community voices from the past, present, and voices that will carry on into the future. I appreciate the opportunity to ensure that these voices are not silenced and their work is not forgotten. As witnesses to the impacts of climate change, the need to put forth a concerted effort to apply due diligence to ensure that our vai, our kai, our ʻaina, and all that depends on these resources are never compromised. We must always remember that living on an island, our resources are finite, and ensuring their longevity and preservation is critical. On April 2nd, I supported the amendments proposed by Chair Cordero as it paves a pathway towards ensuring the preservation of biocultural spaces, and amendment that would include a description of ʻAiea's sugar mill site with a reference to the ʻAiea Town Center Plan, which honors the commitment of community members, past and present, in steadfastly creating the master plan. Next, I would like to acknowledge the 150 petition signatures that Kelly and I were able to gather during an ʻAiea Community Family Fun Day on December 14, 2024, at that open field community space. I bring forth these signatures embedded in my written testimony because they were in support of restoring, protecting, and preserving biocultural spaces in ʻAiea. There were 4 individuals who wanted to learn more, but all the other individuals approached to share this perspective on the petition to restore and protect biocultural spaces. Today, because of writers like Richard Liu, winner of the 2008 Audubon Medal, we know how important it is to ensure that, as he puts it, we save children from nature deficit disorder. Because today there is numerous research that supports the benefits of biocultural spaces on environmental, social, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual health and well-being, not just for children, but for adults as well. I didn't have access to these biocultural spaces when I was a youth, but as a former place-based charter school educator, I was able to provide these biocultural experiences for my students at Lo'ikalo and Noko'i'a, which is critical to building that caring connection between students, ʻAina, and nature, so that they understand the importance of maintaining the parts of these interconnected, interdependent systems that make it whole. Also critical because they are the future leaders who will need to be able to proactively mitigate the impacts of climate change. I would be remiss if I didn't share the stories of families who were eager to sign the petition. Generational ʻAiea residents who had young children of their own did not express wanting more housing development. Instead, they expressed wanting to be able to raise their children with the same kind of small neighborhood feeling that they experienced when they were growing up. They did not want their beloved ʻAiea to become overdeveloped, over-gentrified, over-urbanized, a victim of urban sprawl. I share their voices here to honor them. Rather than push for unsustainable development and urbanization that would overtax our limited, finite resources, I humbly asked the City Council to invest in the long-term health of our ʻAina, of the native flora and fauna, of the overall health and well-being of our interdependent ecosystems that are all inclusive. Let's ensure that our ʻAina, vai, and kai ecosystems are managed with pono and protected because ina malama oi ka ʻAina, e malama ka ʻAina ya oi. If we take care of the land will take care of us. Mahalo for the opportunity to share with great humility, respect, and aloha.
All right, community members, board. Danny?
Just mahalo nui for coming and sharing with the board. In terms of like individuals or community who wants to be supportive, what are some like pathways of action that folks can engage in? Any of the three of you are able to share? Like if you have any upcoming council meetings or things like that.
So ACA actually on their website usually has information about all of the practices that come forth, not just local ʻAiea and lo'ikalo. And that's a good place to go first. Oh, thank you. You mean specifically for Bill 24?
Bill 24.
Oh, yeah.
What
When,
you folks
it
are
does
asking.
say in Chair Cordero's newsletter that the next meeting is on the 16th of April. That's next week. To the full council for third reading. So that's the last time they'll hear it before it gets passed out. And if anybody wants to email me or text me, I can share information too. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me just chime in here real quick. Based on your guys' presentations, because that's literally what they are, they should have been added to the agenda. Okay. And the reason why is because we cannot do anything with community concerns. We cannot vote. We cannot pass a resolution. We cannot do anything based on that. But if you had been on the agenda, we could have done that. And so Claire knows this, and that's why we're going to have a discussion after this meeting about proper procedure, right? Yes, we will. Okay. With that said, let's move on. I'm sorry, your time is up, Claire. Okay, we're going to move on to board business and presentations. Approval of the written summary for video record Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Is there any objections to the written summary of the video record for Tuesday, March 11th, 2025? Anybody want to make a motion? Okay, does anybody want to second that motion? Okay, any objections to the approval of the minutes for the written summary of video record Tuesday, March 11th, 2025? Nothing heard. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Before we get into, when should I ask for the amendment? Now is okay? Okay. So I'd like to make an amendment to the board business and presentations. Somewhere along the line, there's a miscommunication possibly of the presenters for tonight. One of those presenters is not listed on the board business and presentations, and that would be introduction on early eviction mediation program. Is there any objections to adding them to the board business for tonight? Okay, nothing heard. So we will add that to the board business tonight. Okay, we will add that right in as section D. Can add that in there as the last one. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So moving on. Presentation PBR Hawaii changes under consideration to the bus routes. That has been postponed to May, right? Okay. All right. So we will move on to filling in the vacancy for the 3rd district, correct? Is there any volunteers for that? Okay. So let's move on from that. So now we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the introduction on early eviction mediation program. Oh, hold on. Was it? Yes, let's move on to that one. I'm sorry. We'll go ahead and move on to that agenda. So folks, if you want to come up.
Yeah, so I'm presenting online. So I want to say thank you to everyone on the board. Thank you to the community for having me here. I'm going to share screen so everyone can
Hold on. Who are you with, ma'am?
My name is Roberta Hickey Gomez. I am with the Mediation
Oh, hold
Center.
on. Can you hold off, Roberta, just for a second?
Sure.
There's another presenter before you, and then you're on the last on that agenda. Okay, go ahead.
Got it. Apologies.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, Chair Woods and the members of ʻAiea Neighborhood Board. My name is Randy Yim, and I am a Royal Summit resident. I'm just going to give you an update on the Keiki Ali'i Special Treatment Facility. But first of all, I want to thank the board members for their motion to oppose the establishment of a special treatment facility on KKLE Street. Thank you very much. I would like to update you on what has happened since the last board meeting. On March 18, 2025, Dr. Jack Lewin, State Health Planning and Development Agency, SHPTA, ruled to accept the Certificate of Need 2415A submitted by Catholic Charities Hawaii. Their license is still pending. On April 1st, 2025, request for reconsideration of the Certificate of Need relating to the establishment of a community-based special treatment facility for sexual reactive youth was submitted. We are presently awaiting Dr. Lewin's ruling, which could take up to 30 calendar days. Both Senator Brandon Elefante and State Representative Sam Kong have introduced resolutions in their respective houses requesting SHPTA and the Department of Health to hold a public hearing for any Certificate of Need application, any proposed special treatment facility in neighborhoods with community association. Both resolutions did not make it to a hearing, but we need to wait until next year to perhaps close this loop. Thank you very much. Okay, this is something important. On March 29th, 2025, we requested Catholic Charities Hawaii to provide their written state safety action plan. Sarah Antone, Division Administrator at Catholic Charities, responded to our request on April 1st, 2025 by emailing us Chair Stephen Wood's memorandum for record dated February 1st, 2025. Okay. So Chair Wood's memorandum for record, according to Sarah Antone, is their safety action plan. So I'm kind of confused, but this is the memorandum we made up.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay, so we don't know how this fits in with everything, but we had a few questions. It's like, are the action items on track to be completed by May 1st, 2025, such as installing privacy fencing and a gate as documented in the memorandum? Also, there are still questions that are unanswered in the memorandum. So will they be answered?
Like what questions?
Here is questions number.
Would you like us to read the question?
Please, if you're, I mean, I need to know the question before I can provide an answer.
Okay. So in follow-up questions from the neighbors, question number 6, the question was the CON program application states that the Na Ohana Pulama program has been providing residential treatment services for 38 years. Yet the CON program application states that this application is for a new facility located at 98697 KKLE Street, operated by the Na Ohana Pulama program within Catholic Charities. Please clarify how long the Na Ohana Pulama program has been operating Hawaii's second highest level of care for adolescents, just below hospitalization. What levels of care has the Na Ohana Pulama program offered for the past 38 years? And the answer to that was neighborhood chair will follow with Senator Elefante and Department of Health. There was question number 10. Will there be a name change from the Nu'uanu facility, a Ho'oulu Ho'u program, a Lua facility, to Na Ohana Pulama? Are the two facilities the same or different as the ʻAiea facility in terms of the population served or services offered? Are the levels the same? Have state laws changed so that the definition and criteria of the population served have also changed? And the answer to that was neighborhood chair answer. We'll follow up with Senator Elefante and Department of Health.
I have not received any answers on those questions.
Yeah, okay, another one. Question number 12 was, what is the Hawaii data show to support the success rate of a special treatment facility placement in a residential community? If this is a new program, what other data supports success? What are the criteria for the success of this program? And again, Neighborhood Chair answer, we'll follow up with Senator Elefante and Department of Health.
I don't think I've received any responses from Department of Health on those questions.
Okay.
In fact, I know I haven't. Let's go back to the memorandum of record.
Mhm.
So I know you guys had emailed me about this. So the memorandum of record was me interviewing all the adjacent neighbors to include yourselves and your concerns with the facility being there and what actions could be taken to mitigate some of those concerns. That report is not a safety record. It is more of it's more of reducing the amount of concern from the residents around that facility. So I know in the email I said that my response back to that was the safety concerns are going to have to be addressed by the state and the state agencies that are monitoring and inspecting that property. They're the ones that are going to have to determine what is safe and what isn't. My objective when I did that was to mitigate your concerns about privacy, about access to the community, and those kind of issues. And Catholic Charities has come back and done or has notified me that they have completed some of those actions. Now, some of those actions where there are deadlines, like May 1st, those deadlines are them responding back to me with proposals, like, basically that they've received estimates to put up fencing, estimates to move the gate forward, these kind of things, which they have provided, which I have also facilitated out to businesses in the community for donation purposes and things like that.
So just to confirm,
Mhm.
so the question that was asked of Catholic Charities was, we as residents of Newtown Estates are requesting that Catholic Charities send us a written copy of the safety action plan that will be implemented to protect the youths and the residents of the Newtown community.
Mhm.
And then their response was to email us, Chair Woods, your memorandum for record.
Okay. Well, then they're incorrect in doing that. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I think I said that in my email to you folks as well too, right? So in terms of the protection of the individuals in that facility, along with any protection that is needed for the community, the state has to make that determination. They're better suited to make that determination than I would be. My goal was to address your concerns with that facility, and if there was any kind of mitigating actions they could take to do that. And I think they have done most of that. Like I said, the fencing, the gates, those kind of things, they have provided estimates for. It's about funding now, about getting funding to actually do the work. Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Ma'am, yeah, you got something? Please. I'm saying those individuals that are responsible, who that might be, Department of Health, more than likely, that would be responsible for inspecting and certifying that facility. Yeah, because, they're going to come in, right? They're going to make sure there's fire extinguishers in there. They're going to make sure that there's fire alarms that are working. they're going to make sure that all these things are being conducted. And I think they probably make sure too that they have some kind of security system in place, which they do. So they're going to be looking at all those kind of things, I would assume. But yeah, they would be the party I think you should contact about any kind of safety concerns with that facility.
We contact them. They're relying on your
Well,
your
I
memorandum.
appreciate that. That gives me a whole lot of, I'm amazed that I am quite capable of doing
Yeah,
that.
we thought that they
Yeah.
didn't work for them, so they should be
Yeah.
able to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert in safety procedures for a facility like that. So like I said, mine was more in regards to your guys' concerns and trying to mitigate those concerns, right? Egress points and things like that.
They did actually submit permits, because in our area, you need to also, you need to clear DPP
Mhm.
as well as our association.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
do you know where their
No, I don't.
status is?
No, I do not. Yeah. So they're not, other than that, what's his name? The doctor that briefed you guys at your,
Dr.
yeah,
Lewin?
yeah. I mean, he sent me an email saying basically that we've approved the or the condition of need, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And so he sent me that, but that was it. That's the only communication I've had with that individual. So I do not know anything further past that. Yeah.
With this memorandum you wrote up, do you have to get back to Catholic Charities, or do they contact you? Do they come to?
No,
the
they're
board?
keeping me updated.
One last thing. When we did the memorandum, I know that the certificate of need just came out
Mhm.
the day before. But were you aware of the certificate of need and how it's kind of differ from what Catholic Charities stated this program?
I am now. You folks have briefed us about that certificate in
So,
need.
so would you need a follow-up, to maybe modify the memorandum? Because we know this is a different level than the Nuku'ana, because there was no certificate of need for the Nuku'ana facility.
No, because the memorandum for record was based upon your guys's issues with that facility at that particular time. Now, if those issues have changed, okay, then that's something that we'll have to readdress.
Because it was only brought up when we asked Dr. Lewin for the certificate of
Yeah.
need, which these programs usually fall under.
Right.
To our surprise, and I think to his surprise, that there was none for Nuuano. So
Mhm.
how can we come? When you were reviewing it, you quite didn't, or we didn't even know what kind of program they were running. So my just question, if you have to review and look at the place again and like a different assessment, or
I don't necessarily know. The assessment I made at Nuanu was based upon their time there and how the residents interacted with them during that time that they were there. And that was pretty much my assessment. I didn't have access to the building, so I wasn't able to look inside it. I didn't have access to the property itself. So I went around and interviewed the neighbors up in, probably a block in each direction. I went and tried to interview neighbors along that path and took their statements into consideration when I did my memorandum of record.
only two neighbors you could talk to, right?
That's correct.
And-
Well, I actually talked to more, but the other ones were renters and they were transient. They hadn't been there at the time when Catholic Charities was there. When those residents that had been there had moved out at that point.
Yeah, and just for notation too, when we did the hearing with Dr. Lewin,
Mhm.
then Catholic Charities did use also your memorandum of record as their track record for the past 20 years.
Well, I am thoroughly. I don't know what to say to that. But again, my goal for the entire process was to address your concerns.
Right.
Your concerns with the facility and to see where we could find common ground with Catholic Charities that they could make a good faith effort to do that. Yeah.
We understand what you were doing.
Yeah.
And that's why we keep asking Catholic Charities for their documents. We're not asking for Steve Wood's document. We're asking
Right.
for- Yeah.
You only have you have the document I only have. So like, there's no other documents. Yeah. Yeah. You know, again, I know what you guys are asking for. I just don't think myself or even Senator Alfonte are quite capable of doing that because there are agencies within the state that inspect, review, and approve or deny those things that you guys are asking about. And I think those are more the right folks to ask than myself or Senator Alfonte. We can try and point you guys in the right direction, but I don't think we can necessarily. I know I'm speaking for you, but I'm sorry. Okay, but I mean, I just yeah, I don't think Senator Alfonte is a expert on juvenile rehabilitation centers and their security measures that they incorporate. So, but there are agencies that do that, right? And I think those are the folks that you really do need to talk to about this. Sure, May.
Quietly, but I would like an update of what actually the status is. I've heard there, and well, Catholic Charities is not here.
I think I forwarded you guys.
Yeah, some of that I read about that, but you know, I'm in a limbo. I mean, I hear more of the Catholic charity side of what they're doing, and they seem to be a little more knowledgeable in presenting, you know, like fire system, you know, just for protection. But what really the residents have, they just, you know, the certificate of need, that's about the only thing they can.
But that's why Senator Alfonte put in that bill to make sure that there's public hearings going forward, that there's a way for the community to be notified prior to an actual purchase of that property.
That's what's lacking. Nobody on the other side, you know, we only hear Catholic charity side. I would like more the community and the residents, you know. I mean, and why can't Catholic charities come here?
Well, I
try to get them.
No, they were not on the agenda, so they didn't need to come.
Did you invite them?
They've been here several times.
Oh,
yeah.
You didn't really give a presentation. I think the second time you said that they were going to do a presentation, but they really didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. We can get semantics about it, but they have been represented several times to these board meetings.
But they're not here today.
No, they're not.
They should come to every meeting because our residents are here, you know, where
Well, they're busy people too, I assume. They got kids they got to watch, right? So, but you know.
But I'm in a limbo because I want to hear two sides because, you know,
Well,
I live here.
we've been down this road though.
Yeah. and
We've heard the
I
two
feel-
sides.
just.
I'm not trying to make light of this,
Yeah,
May.
I know.
But we've been down this road
Yeah.
a lot lately. And at this point, I don't know what else we can do.
Yeah,
We've
just gotta
disapproved
put-
this.
I know.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
it seems like it's.
we've discussed this
Yeah.
at length and we've disapproved it. And I don't necessarily know what else we can do at this point.
Here.
Yeah, Lawrence.
When I looked at the bullet points as far as what entails a certificate of need, it always refers to community. It doesn't say certificate of need for island of Oahu. If I interpret what community means, does that mean that any adolescents that's going to be housed in this facility is actually going to be from ʻAiea? Or are they going to scoop up adolescents from the whole island of Oahu?
So this was actually discussed at the meeting last month when we had this discussion before we did the vote, and it's statewide, actually. It's not just Oahu.
But then as far as the definitions, when you look at what the certificate of need is asking, it's regarding a community. It's not saying island of Oahu. So we may, in black and white, it's referring to community. When black and white, it doesn't say island of Oahu.
Okay. Not tracking what you're saying. But okay, well, hold on. I want Lawrence to clarify here.
So if you follow what's in black and white,
Uh-huh.
any adolescent has to be from the community of ʻAiea. It's
No, I
not-
don't think it says that.
No, but it doesn't say state of Hawaii. It refers to community.
Yeah, but what is community?
Well,
You could say the Hawaiian community. That would include people that live in Las Vegas.
No, that's not, but in the community, I'm trying to define what is, it doesn't say island of Oahu, it says the community.
Understand. So define community.
But I'm not the one who wrote this certificate.
Community of Hawaii. I mean, I'm not trying to be confrontational here, but
But it would be
it's
clear.
a broad term.
It'd be clear if it was the island of Oahu versus.
Yeah.
The community as
Well, we
as-
can make that amendment. We can put that in the bill for Senator Elefante to put in committee. If you want to make that clarification.
I just want to know, because if it's community, then every adolescent that's gonna be there is gonna be from ʻAiea.
No. It's going to be statewide, Lawrence.
That's not what it says in black and white. It says community. It doesn't say island of Oahu.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Russell?
No, I was just gonna ask Senator, this year I understand because of timing, the best you could do is a reso, but maybe like next year we should look at some statutory changes. Yeah, maybe we can meet offline.
Community members? Oh, ma'am?
May we humbly request that the ʻAiea Neighborhood Board assist the residents of Kekiali'i Street in obtaining the safety plan from Catholic Charities Hawaii?
I can ask.
Mahalo.
I don't necessarily know if I'll get a response, but I can ask. I mean,
And when you ask,
yeah.
may it be in writing
Oh,
what your
it'll-
safety plan
Oh, no.
is?
It will definitely always be in writing.
Mahalo.
Yeah, definitely be in writing. Okay. Jane, you had something you want to say? Yeah. They use my memorandum as a safety plan.
We're just going around in a circle. We don't know who
Right.
to ask. We need
They're
help.
basically pointing fingers or something. Yeah, so.
If somebody can come up with an idea, what agency we can talk to, because we emailed a lot of agencies, but we just go in a circle and it comes back.
Have you asked?
For like history kind of things, they had to show their history experience.
Yeah.
They were running an existing program
So-
and just
so-
changing addresses. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sarah Anton
A
would,
track record.
would use
But then they used Steve Wood's track
Steve's, yeah.
record.
What happened at in Uano, and we have nothing written. We want something written
Well,
for our
from
safety.
them, from-
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, folks. Yeah, I'll ask the question. So, no worries about that. Okay, let's move on to introduction on early eviction mediation program.
So again, I wanted to thank the board and the community for having me out. My name is Roberta Hickey Gomez. I'm from the Mediation Center of the Pacific. A lot of the work that we do is trying to empower the community to resolve their own disputes, typically resolve disputes outside of the courtroom. And I am going to be sharing my presentation. Okay, can everyone see my presentation?
We can, thank you.
Excellent, wonderful, thank you. So a little bit of history and background. This program is coming out of the Act 57 program, which is coming out of the eviction moratorium. That program required landlords to, if they were going to move forward with eviction proceedings, they needed to pursue mediation first, and it was paired with rental assistance. The initial target on Oahu was 6,000 tenants. We had mediated 1,342 out of 3,050 cases, and we reached 85% agreement, keeping 90% of tenants in their homes. The program expired in August of 2022, but the Mediation Center continued moving forward with private funds. The program got off to a little bit of a rocky start in which we were working with our volunteer program assistants. we were able to result in 40% scheduled mediation with 73% early landlord-tenant cases resulting in agreement. But as we move forward and as the program developed, what we noticed is that the program has a great benefit to both landlords and tenants. On the landlord side, we know that in mediating early, it helps reduce spending time recovering rents and navigating the legal system. On average, landlords spend between 1 and 4 months in eviction processing. It also saves landlords money spent in the eviction process, including legal fees. On average, landlords spend between $500 and $10,000. Agreements that foster relationships and mutual interests also support the apartments and homes being left in better condition for landlords. And if breakdowns happen post-mediation agreement, having that written agreement to take to courts can help landlords in being able to push forward, knowing that they've exercised everything in good faith to be able to address the issue with the tenant. We also know that it's a benefit to tenant because it provides greater housing stability and predictability, whether tenants remain in their home or they come to a reasonable time frame for move out. We also know that fewer evictions on record for tenants can cause stigmatization for tenants. It impacts their future housing decisions, including potential removal from Section 8 housing program, which can be disastrous and lead to houselessness. We also know that agreements between tenants and landlords provide greater ease in housing relationships and empowers tenants to be able to meet on equal terms with their landlord while engaging in an interest-based model. We know that this provides greater community stability in terms of houseless prevention, fostering fiscal responsibility, and stability of access to housing and other financial resources. The program, as I said, has been developing. Currently, we take up about 33% of the early landlord-tenant cases that we receive, with the remainder coming to us from district court. Our agreement rate is anywhere between 92 and 93%. That means that when we get landlords and tenants to agree to come to the table, we find solutions that work for them. We've had about a 60% increase in cases from Q1. And how the program works is that it provides landlords and tenants with the opportunity to talk with the help of an impartial mediator to negotiate agreements. If English isn't their primary language, we provide an interpreter. Meetings are held remotely through Zoom, and that allows people who may not have internet access, they can access the service through our offices, but it also allows people to access the service from their homes, schedule in a way that's helpful and beneficial. And a mediation schedule is generally scheduled for 1.5 hours on a day and time agreed by both parties. When reaching an agreement, the mediator will put the agreement in writing to be signed electronically. For scheduling, cases can be scheduled within a 48-hour period, and that is a great time difference when we compare to the court system, where it can be anywhere between 1 and we've even heard up to 6 months. So typically, cases can be resolved within a 3 to 5 business day window. As part of the program, we've been developing all of these extra components to go along with our program, and one of that is the eviction calculator. The eviction calculator helps landlords accurately calculate what the cost of eviction would be to them specifically, because when we talk about what costs are to landlords, we talk about abstract figures between 500 and 10,000. This calculator allows them to input their portfolio size, unit size, monthly rent, location, the cost for repairs, change of locks, etc., and calculates all of that into a figure that they can take and really understand what this specific eviction will cost them. We also have tools for tenants. We've partnered with the Hawaiian Community Assets, and we've come up with monthly spending and budget plans that are tailored to the local community. And we also partner with them for referrals in terms of financial housing and counseling. This allows tenants to become empowered to be able to come into these mediations knowing any benefits that they may be able to access, what their financial status is to make an agreement, if this is the right apartment for them, etc., and bring all of that information in to make really empowered decisions for them. We also are working on some legislation that's currently working its way through the ledge right now. This is part of legislation to require a statewide program to allow for tenants to be able to schedule mediation and to allow a time period to delay eviction filings along the lines of being able to schedule that mediation. We've also been working on tenant Kakua hubs. These have been working across the island to be able to go to community centers and groups where people are already seeking services and provide training to staff and volunteers there to be able to help people fill out online intake form for mediation, to educate them a little bit on mediation, if that is something that they can access or should access based on their particular circumstances. If anyone is interested in early eviction mediation or would like to spread the word, I have a QR code here available. You can always contact us through our website, mediatehawaii.org, click contact, schedule mediation, and that will take you to our online mediation request form. We collect simple demographic information for the parties as well as the issues being addressed, and then you can be contacted by a client services representative who's there to help you. I want to say thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
All right, thank you. Questions, board members? Okay, nothing heard. All right, thank you, ma'am, for the report. Much appreciated. You guys do just, is your scope only for the early eviction, or do you do other mediation programs?
No, we do all sorts of mediation programs. We do landlord-tenant mediation programs. We do programs for divorce, property. We do kapunapono, elderly family planning and family conferencing. We do Department of Education, special education mediations. So we've run the whole gamut. Pretty much anything that you can think of in terms of disputes, we've seen it and we've handled it. What I will say is that our early eviction mediation program is one of our few free programs that we offer to the community, and it's a real service, and it's a service that both landlords and tenants can access. So we're trying to really make this part of the community to increase communication between all members, because we know that evictions really upend communities and cause devastation in their wake.
And do you do mediations for, I don't know, community associations as well?
We have done. Is that something that might be of interest?
I think it would be.
Sure. You can feel free to call us at any time.
Thank you. Okay, Lawrence.
Hey, do you guys charge for your services?
So we charge on a sliding scale fee for the vast majority of our services, but it does help to keep costs down way lower than other private mediation services. But our early eviction mediation program specifically is free. So that's any case that has yet to go to a court of law and is facing eviction, whether they've received a notice, they're just first behind on rent, etc. All of those cases can be taken for free.
As far as an example, as far as what you charge, would it be possible for you to say what you charge for your services?
I mean, it depends on the case. It depends on what's being mediated. Typically, we see usual fees somewhere around $250, but it depends on the case as well.
Thank you.
Francie?
I understand that arbitration is different than mediation. Do you also do arbitration?
I don't believe we offer arbitration services at present.
Do you have any references that you can refer someone to?
I mean, you can contact our office and we can certainly refer you out to someone for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Board members? All right. Community members, open to you folks. Anybody wants to ask a question? Okay. Nothing heard. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. Glad to have you. And sorry about the miscommunication with the agenda item. So thank you for
No
being
worries.
patient with us.
Of course.
Okay, let's move on. Let me pull up my schedule here. Hold on. What are we on next? Okay, federal and state officials. So Congressman Ed Case's office. Nothing heard. All right, moving on. Governor Green's office.
Good evening, Chair,
Good evening.
members of the board, and members of the community. I'm Janelle Sanishi, representing the Office of the Governor. The big news today was that Hawaii confirmed its first case of measles for this year, and it's in a child under 5 years of age. And there's also possibly a second infection related to the first one. So Governor Green and the Department of Health held a news conference today to urge those who have not been vaccinated for measles to really consider it. The herd immunity is 95% vaccination rate, which protects the community from measles, but Hawaii is below 90% at this point. So they really urge people to consider getting vaccinated and check if you're vaccinated. The case was travel related, so anyone can bring it in here. And so, especially devastating to children, or can be. So we don't want that to happen here. And the Department of Health is working really hard to make sure that it's they can control it, and these may be the only cases and not spread. There is a news release in the Department of Health website, and other than that, the governor did have the April newsletter open, and that Hawaiian Homelands has awarded about 800 leases for 2 projects in West Oahu. That means about 1,200 awardee or members have been will get housing in Hawaiian Homelands. Some of the families that have been on the wait list for since 1950s. So they're moving forward on that. There was an engineering award for the Maui Temporary Housing Village for the displaced families of the wildfire. And then the Akamai Arrival pilot project is still ongoing, that digitizes the ag form that you fill out when you come into Hawaii. That you can find in the Google Drive, or you can go to the governor's website at governor.hawaii.gov. Just wanted to also mention that the Department of Agriculture has a little fire ant treatment program for Oahu residents. So if you think you have little fire ants, we'll come out and survey it, and then we'll treat it for free on Oahu. This program, it's just that if you and your neighbor have little fire ants, then everybody has to agree that to be treated, or else we can't do it if it's only one property. So you can contact the Department of Ag if you feel you have little fire ants. Okay, that's it. Any questions?
Right. Any questions for the governor's office, board? Lawrence?
I had a question regarding the PUC as far as they're looking at this YL repower project, and under there they had this community benefits package, and they said Hawaiian Electric is going to commit $3,000 per megawatt year allocated to the community. I went to a meeting, I believe in January, and my interpretation was all this money is going to go to the Pro City community because that's in their area. Can you verify if that's correct? Because it's quite a bit of money if it's $3,000 per megawatt and you have, say, a 200 megawatt plant. You're looking at $600,000. But I'm not sure if that's the interpretation.
Okay, so your question is whether that money is going to go to in the area of the YL power plant?
Correct, because when I attended that Hawaiian Electric meeting, they had this community benefits package, and they're gonna give $3,000 per megawatt per year. So if you say you have a 200 megawatt plant, that's $600,000. Is all that money just gonna go to Pro City?
Okay, I'll ask them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to Highways Division, State Department of Transportation.
Good evening, Chair Woods and members of the ʻAiea Board. Casey Abe from the State DOT Highways Division. Last week, Wednesday, we received an email from Board Member Higa via Neighborhood Board Assistant Curtis Hayashi requesting a representative to provide an overview of our red light and speed enforcement camera programs. We have our representative, Ms. Shelley Kunishi, at your meeting, and online is our program manager, Ms. Lee Nagano. I'll turn it over to Shelley at this time.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Chair Woods, members of the board. So we began, so under law, we're allowed to use our safety camera systems currently activated for red light to capture speed. We started doing that on March 1st. And what we found was initially we did that at the 5 mile per hour over posted speed limit. And we found that we were getting about 72,000 violations at that time per week. So we've revised it to 11 miles per hour over this posted speed limit. And as of last Friday, 650 warnings have been mailed out and there were 6,000 in the queue. So that's from the period of March 17th. So that's kind of an update on the current system. We also have a request for proposals out for the next 10 years of the project, in which we're looking to not only maintain the 10 intersections that are currently in downtown Honolulu, but to also add between 8 to 10 new intersections per year of that 10-year contract. And I do have some questions we received from Casey from the board. And I'd like to take that time to go over those questions. So again, we are still in the warning period and that's expected to last until at least October. But regarding the question, what is the cost for a ticket issued for red light and speed enforcement violations? And so this fine for a red light violation captured by the red light safety camera system is $92. And for speed violations, currently we're in discussions with judiciary, but we are looking at starting at 20 miles per hour over posted. So in many areas, that would be someone going 45 miles per hour through an area signed for 25 miles per hour. And that would be starting at $167. That would raise with each mile over posted, topping out at $317 for those exceeding 30 miles per hour over posted speed limit, which is defined in HRS as excessive speed. So included in that $167 to $317 would be the administration fee that goes to judiciary. That's $40. A driver's ed fee of $7, the neurotrauma surcharge of $10, and the Safe Routes to Schools surcharge of $10. So the second question we received is how much of the revenue generated from these tickets goes to the city? So at this time, so for example, the total revenue from 1 year of the red light citations was $1.6 million. And those funds will be applied back to the program. So question number 3 was, is the speed threshold for enforcement same across all speeding violations or does it vary? So I'll refer back to the chart and I will give this to Casey to record for the board of the proposed fee schedule. And number 4, why is human review required before tickets are issued? Given the additional costs involved, is this step necessary? So before we began the red light safety camera system, we did study several other states for best practices. And that's where basically the registered owner responsibility and the review by local law enforcement came into the system. There is currently a bill, I believe it's Senate Bill 97, to add Department of Law Enforcement as also possible reviewers. So that basically local review of the potential violations is required by law to preserve the due process rights of the registered owners. So subject to any additional questions.
Okay, thank you. Lawrence?
Okay, so as far as the ticket, you guys preserve the camera footage of the vehicle?
Yes, so that is recorded, and basically, there's pamphlets over there. It includes the website. So if you were to get a citation by mail, you would go to that website and it would show you a picture of your vehicle, a picture of you going through the intersection, and a picture, and a short, clip of of the vehicle going through the intersection.
Yeah, I know you mentioned first time offense, but if you have second, third, fourth offenses, does the price of your ticket go up accordingly?
No, right now, what we're discussing with the judiciary is a staggered fee schedule based off of how much you're exceeding the speed limit.
So as far as this ticket, I recall them saying that it's not a moving violation. It's more
So-
like a parking ticket.
So there's also legislation going through, I believe that's HB 697, to add a provision to 291L, which would prohibit insurance companies from using a violation through the system to increase your insurance rates. And it would prohibit it from being added to your traffic abstract.
And when you say prohibit, that means that how are you gonna restrict public access? Is it, because normally any state record has to be accessible by the public. What will prevent the insurance companies from going in there and getting records as far as what you got?
So we did check with DCCA, the insurance division. And so if an insurance company wrongfully increases your rates due to a automated speed or automated red light ticket, you can complain to the insurance commissioner and that would affect their license to sell insurance in Hawaii.
No, but how would you know that? They cannot tell you because you ran this red light, we're bumping you up 20%. They'll just kick up your insurance without telling you why.
So that would, I can check with, but I'm sure they would need to give you a reason why they're increasing your rate.
I don't believe so. We're talking about insurance companies. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, nothing heard. All right, thank you. Casey? Can we move it along on the briefs of things that you've done? I
that's
really
all I
do
have.
appreciate them though, so thank you, but we could just highlight maybe some of the big ones.
That's all I have for.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you then. Oh. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. All right, Casey, got anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you then.
Thank you.
All right, let's go. I do have one thing for you. Do you know the location where you guys filled those potholes and removed that tree recently?
Yeah.
That had fallen into the road? Yeah, so somebody did some illegal dumping now along that stretch. I don't know necessarily who handles that, if it's you folks or somebody else.
So can you repeat where the location was again?
Hold on, let me pull up the map. It's on, I think it's Luapelli Drive. Yeah,
Okay, I'll check it out.
yeah, somebody dropped a refrigerator, I think, or maybe a file cabinet and some other things there. Because they were too lazy to go to the dump, it seems like, so. Okay, so thank you again for checking on that, much appreciated. Let's go ahead and move on. Where are we at? Place, Senator Wakai's office. All right, nothing heard. Okay, all right, Senator Alfonte, you're here. Thank you, sir. Thank you for waiting patiently, by the way.
Yes, of course.
Of
Great evening.
course, of course.
Chair Wood, Vice Chair Mizusawa, members of the board, and members of the community. I'm Brandon Alfonte from the State Senate. You do have our written report that I handed out to you folks as well as members of the public. Faith Kintua online will, from my staff, she'll send you the link to our spring newsletter. I just want to highlight a few things on the back of our newsletter. There are a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. I want to just acknowledge board member Arakaki for helping to organize the Trades and Motorsports Education Fair. So thank you again, Board Member Arakaki, for your work there and all the event organizers. We did add a few highlight on resources. I know the governor's rep talked about reporting of, wild ants in that sense, fire ants, but there is a 643 pest network, invasive species. So we added that on the back. And then in addition to that, on the very bottom, there's a fireworks hotline for illegal fireworks. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this at the last board meeting, but I'll just kind of summarize that the only bill still alive relating to illegal fireworks is currently all bills that dealt with a ban on illegal fireworks have died this session. However, the only measures still alive specifically have to do with enforcement relating to enforcement division, extending the illegal fireworks task force in the Department of Law Enforcement. And then the big bill has to do with changing the definitions of fireworks so that the prosecutors can prosecute certain cases. And in addition to that, that would also increase penalties for those with possession. And there's different stages in terms of possessions and criminal penalties for that. So that remains alive as we move into conference. We're in the final month before the end of legislative session, which is May 2nd. So that's a highlight on that. And then in addition to that, the Senate has approved our state budget, which has passed the final reading in the Senate chamber, which is House Bill 300. It still has to go to conference to work out final details of it. But I just want to highlight that for Gus Webling Elementary, Rep. Kong and I were able to secure $10 million in appropriations for a new office building, administration building that's in Halaba Heights. That's my alma mater. And then $600,000 for new visitor bleachers at ʻAiea High School. So this is on the Makai side, closer to Ulune Street. That was a request from ʻAiea High School to replace those old wooden bleachers that have been there. And that will kind of hopefully go in conjunction with the new athletic field and track. So those are appropriated. So it has to be finalized by the legislature before the end of session. So I'll know next month more details on that. And then lastly, I just wanted to, first of all, acknowledge Faith from my staff, being that this is coming to the end of session. She is my session staff. And so she's worked really hard this session. We're very honored and happy to have her. But come May 2nd, she's going to pursue other things. So she's been really helpful with the newsletters and responding. So if we could just give her a round of applause for all her help. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you, Faith. Yeah, we're really happy to have her. And then two other things I'll mention is thank you to Shelley and Casey for talking about the red light speed camera program. That's something that Rep. Ichiyama and myself worked really hard, and we were able to pass legislation last session, which enabled the use of red light cameras to speeding cameras. And we hope with the community support that I know there's interest to expand it to Central Oahu, including the ʻAiea community. And lastly, I just want to recognize and say ha'ole lahanau and happy belated birthday to Councilmember Cordero, which her birthday was yesterday. And then a few items I want to follow up, Chair, is for the Newtown residents, Royal Summit residents, thank you for being actively engaged and all that. We'll continue to work together during the interim as we go to next session on some of the issues and work with Chair Wood on that. But I have not heard back from Catholic Charities in terms of some of the follow-up questions that you have. Well, I'll work with Chair Wood to see how we can follow up with Catholic Charities. Yep, you're welcome. And that concludes my report, Chair. Thank you.
Any questions for the Senator? Lawrence.
Just to reiterate, I'm not sure if this is in your wheelhouse, but can you go and check on that community benefits package if that monies is only for the Pro City area? Because in ʻAiea, we also have a lot of issues with homeless and road conditions, all kinds of stuff also. And this is currently going through the PUC to have that ʻAiea Power, the ʻAiea Repower project. So as far as where all those monies is going, if it all goes to Pro City, I think I want to move to that neighborhood Because I think they're gonna have a lot of beautiful parks in their area. But yeah, can you follow up on that?
Okay, so just to clarify, Board Member Higa, you want to know if there are any community benefits package from that PUC docket for Waiau Power Project, is that correct?
No, there is a community benefits package.
Okay.
because I went to the meeting they had in January, and they said in their meeting that they're gonna allocate the $3,000 per megawatt. And the chairman for the Pro City Board jumped on board and was like really supporting the project after he heard that.
Yeah, but just to clarify, you want to find out specifically if there's community benefit packages for ʻAiea?
Yeah, is all that money only going to Pro City or is it going to other communities?
Okay, just so I can get the correct answer for you.
Yeah, because
to
I'm
clarify.
front, that's a lot of money and they're our neighbor and the power plant is like right on the boundary between ʻAiea and Pro City.
We'll follow up with the PUC and we'll work at the governor's office.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Tracy.
Is any of the gaming and casino bills still alive right now?
So casino bills are dead this session. The Senate did vote out today on sports betting, online sports betting. It passed 15-10. So the community is aware. I did vote no on that for concerns that were raised by law enforcement and the attorney generals. So that is the only measure that is still live. I think that's a House bill.
Okay, thank you. All right, if no other questions, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you for your report.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Yep, same here. Okay, let's move on to Representative Ichiyama's office. Nothing heard? Okay, moving on. Not gonna wait around. Representative Shimizu. Saw him on earlier. Okay, we'll move on. Representative Kong's office. Okay, nothing heard, moving on. All right, let's go to board reports. Executive, I have nothing to report. Community Relations and Publicity, Tracy. Okay. Parks and Rec, Paul's not here. Planning and Zoning, Chemo's off the board. Military Intergovernmental Affairs. I saw. Yep.
Tomorrow there's the fuel thing. Sorry. Tomorrow is the fuel tank advisory committee meeting number 14, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. It is hybrid available. Information is on the Department of Health website. You can search the Red Hill Task Force FTAC committee meeting number 14. And then the other meeting on the 16th is the the Restoration Advisory Board Committee, the Pearl Harbor Hickam Kalailoa Restoration Advisory Board meeting, which is on April 16 from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Oahu Veterans Center. Let's see, and then, and if I did send the email and that has the Zoom link information for that.
Okay.
And then I did notice Mr. Robert Sato from Cordero's office had problems, and there was a email she sent earlier today about the share your input at the Climate Action Plan workshops in ʻAiea and Kalihi. The ʻAiea meeting is this Friday, April 11, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. here at the ʻAiea Public Library.
Okay. And okay, anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Woods,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Carol. I'm sorry, my microphone wouldn't unmute, so I'm on my phone. I'm
Okay.
with Rep. Shimizu's office.
Okay. You want to go
I
ahead
put-
then?
Yes, please, if you're, thank you.
Yes, please, go
Um,
ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to invite everybody. Rep. Shimizu is going to be participating with Art at the Capitol this Friday from 4 to 7:30. And if you've never done that, it's many of the offices, both Senate and House, open their offices for people to come in and see all the different state-owned art that is displayed in their offices. So please come. Our office will be open. I posted our mid-session report in the chat, and then it will also go in the mail, I think, tomorrow. And there are specific questions on bills that are going through the process right now. So things like you talked about the legalizing gambling, and another one is cell phone use in schools and things like that. So just really quickly, anything you folks need, please let us know.
Okay, thank you. Board members, anything for the rep's office? Lawrence, no? You sure?
You sure?
Okay, all right, let's move back to committees. Danny, education and, hold on. Am I missing something? Oh, Lawrence, I'm sorry, Lawrence. I'm all screwed up. Environmental and utilities, Lawrence.
Just to be prudent on my part, if we're looking at doing some kind of audit of Hawaiian Electric, how would we start that process with PUC? Because PUC is the one that would conduct or initiate an audit. How do we request that or get that started as far as requesting that from PUC? Because in the whole history while I've been living here, which is not that long, I've never heard of an audit of Hawaiian Electric. I know there's a lot of things going on that's being published as far as union, their rates that they charge, what happened in Maui.
Have you looked at their website and see if there's an agency that's supposed to be auditing them?
Audit has to be independent, and Hawaii is all intertwined.
Yeah.
So as far as the PUC, I know there's members of electrical union, which is contracted from Hawaiian Electric to do stuff. So I would assume if we have an audit, it has to be somebody from a mainland, some kind of independent company. But I don't know how it would be accomplished or how it would be done. Just to make sure, because Hawaiian Electric moves around millions and millions of dollars. So just to make sure that everything is not, everything is done up front and there's nothing in the background that's going on.
Maybe maybe we can ask somebody from Hawaiian Electric to come attend the meeting, and next month, and we can get that on the agenda.
Because I know we requested PUC to come by, but they've never.
Yeah,
answered,
I don't think they've answered. Janelle, Governor's Office.
Yes, hi.
Is there
I can ask.
is there some kind of auditor that looks at the Hawaiian Electric? Or do you know, or is there anybody that we can reach out to find out that information?
Yes, I'll ask the PUC.
Okay.
What kind of audit are you? Because there are all different types of audits.
I came across an article from the main public utilities, and they were audited to examine the management structure, customer service, collection practices, operation, reliability. But they had it done by this company called Overland Consulting. So I would assume that if we audit it, we would need an independent audit company, probably somebody independent of Hawaii. But I'm not sure if it's something that has to be requested from the public or the senators or the governor, or I'm not sure how that occurs.
Okay, I'll ask the PUC if there's a protocol for that.
Yeah, because this audit actually came about from the PUC in Maine. They initiated the audit. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Janelle. Okay, Danny.
So I sent an email out to the board today as well, but this Saturday, Halehaola Kanaka Cultural Institute will have a ho'ike featuring ʻAiea high school students and alums, as well as other community members. So mahalo to Senator Elefante for attending and others in the community as well. It'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. this Saturday at Moanalua High School, the Performing Arts Center. And then the following Saturday, on April 19th, Ho'onohoia Kalo'o has their third Saturday community work day at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you. All right, and with that, let's go to the announcements. So the board will be meeting next second Tuesday, May 13th at 7 p.m. here at the Public Library. You can also catch this being rebroadcast on Alelo, Channel 49, every last Thursday at 6 p.m. And Ania mentioned that the city and county of Honolulu and Hawaii Food Bank Food Drive, your neighborhood assistant will be collecting donated canned goods at April 25th regular meeting. Okay, so we don't have any canned goods, it doesn't look like. Okay, with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.